There was a man who wanted to build a house. Not a grand mansion, not something to impress the neighbors. Just a simple, strong place where life could happen. He stood on an empty plot of land and imagined the finished walls, a sturdy roof, and the warmth inside. But when he looked down at the ground again, reality set in. There was nothing. No walls, no doors, no progress. Only a single, solitary brick in his hand. And in that moment, the weight of his dream felt impossibly heavy. The man did what so many of us do when we face a monumental task. He started to calculate everything. He counted the number of bricks he would need, the hours it would take, the money it would cost. He pictured all the potential mistakes he might make along the way. The numbers were staggering, and they filled him with fear. So he did nothing. He waited. Days bled into weeks, and the land remained stubbornly empty. His dream was paralyzed by the scale of the work. One morning, as the sun rose, he picked up that single brick again. He didn't feel a sudden surge of motivation. There was no newfound confidence coursing through him. Instead, he made one small, simple decision. Today, he told himself, I will place just one brick. Not a row of 10, not the foundation of a wall, just one. He knelt down and carefully set it on the ground, making sure it was level. It didn't look like much. It was just a lone brick on an empty field. But it was something. It was a tangible piece of progress that hadn't existed the day before. The very next day, doubt returned, whispering in his ear. One brick doesn't build a house. His mind taunted. This is too slow. You'll be old and grey before you ever finish at this pace. It felt foolish, almost pointless. But then he remembered yesterday. Yesterday there was nothing but dirt and a dream. Today there was one brick. That was a fact. So, with a quiet resolve, he placed another one right next to it. 2 bricks, standing side by side, still unimpressive, still hopelessly incomplete. But they were real. Days turned into weeks, and the pattern continued. Some days he woke up feeling tired and sore. Some days he felt lazy, the comfort of his bed calling to him. On other days, he felt a deep-seated urge to quit altogether, to just walk away from the whole absurd project. But on those difficult days, he didn't try to push harder. He didn't try to force himself to do more to make up for his lack of enthusiasm. He simply honored his one small promise. He placed one brick. He did it even when it felt utterly pointless. He did it even when no one was around to notice or cheer him on. In fact, he especially did it when no one noticed. After about a month, something began to shift. The change wasn't on the land, which still looked mostly empty. The change was inside him. The act of placing one brick was no longer a chore. It had become normal. It was automatic, like breathing. It became a non-negotiable part of his day. He stopped asking himself if he felt like it. He stopped waiting for a bolt of inspiration to strike. Placing one brick was no longer just an action he performed. It had become part of his identity. He thought, I am someone who builds. Then, one morning, he placed his daily brick and stepped back to look. And there it was, a small wall low to the ground, but a wall nonetheless. It wasn't tall, it wasn't finished, but it was undeniable. Something that had once lived only in his imagination now existed in the physical world, solid and real. People walking by started to notice. "How did you build this?" they'd ask, curious. He would answer simply, without any fanfare, "1 brick every day." Some of them laughed, thinking it was a joke. Some nodded politely and moved on, unconvinced. Most just walked away, missing the power of his simple answer. Of course, not every day went smoothly. Progress is never a straight line. One week, a heavy rainstorm washed away some of the mortar, loosening his work. Another week, he discovered a few of the bricks had cracked under the sun. Sometimes he deplays a brick crookedly and would have to spend the next day's time carefully removing it and setting it right. The work wasn't perfect. There were setbacks, but his rule remained the same. 1 brick. Even if that day's brick was just fixing a mistake from the day before, it still counted. It was still moving forward. Months passed. The small wall grew into several walls, rising higher and higher. The distinct shapes of rooms began to emerge. The outline of a real house was finally visible on the landscape. The work was still slow, there was no denying that. But it was steady, and steady work is a dangerous thing in the best possible way, because it doesn't rely on emotion. It doesn't stop for doubt. It just keeps going, accumulating day after day with a quiet, unstoppable force. Momentum had taken over. Then, one ordinary afternoon, the man picked up a brick, placed it into its spot, and realized something astonishing. There were no more bricks left to place. He stepped back, and before him the house stood complete. Strong walls, a roof overhead to keep out the rain, a front door that opened to welcome him in. It wasn't a perfect house. There were flaws here and there that only he could see. But it was his. It was real. And it was built not by a sudden heroic effort, not by rare bursts of intense motivation, but by the relentless power of quiet consistency. That evening, the man sat inside the house he had built with his own 2 hands. He didn't think about the first brick or the grand design. He thought about all the days he had almost quit. He thought about the days that felt useless, when placing one more brick seemed like a drop in an endless ocean. And in the quiet of his new home, he finally understood the profound truth that most people miss. Big, life-changing results are not built by big, dramatic actions. They are built by small, seemingly insignificant actions, repeated day after day, without drama, without fanfare, until they become unbreakable. Your goal might not be to build a house. It might be to learn a new language, to write a book, to get in shape, to repair a relationship, or to simply build a better life. Right now, looking at the entire mountain ahead, it probably feels overwhelming, maybe even impossible. So stop. Stop thinking about the whole thing. Just for today, pick up your 1 brick, What is the smallest meaningful action you can take right now toward that goal? Do that one thing. Then, tomorrow, when you wake up, do it again.